The ground shook hard enough to knock bottles off the metal shelves. Emma grabbed the edge of the concrete table and held tight as dust fell from the ceiling. Around her, the underground facility hummed with the sound of emergency alarms and the noise of scared people. She was 14 years old, and she could hear the fear in the voices above her. The adults had been whispering for 3 days about what was happening up there. The ships, the aliens, the cities burning. Emma's parents had brought her to this place when the news stations stopped broadcasting. Her father worked for the government, something to do with emergency management. He had a code to open the heavy doors of the facility built into a mountain in Colorado. The shelter had been built during the Cold War, abandoned for decades. And now it was the difference between living and dying. The facility held about 200 people. Families, sick old people, children. Everyone was scared. The adults tried to hide it, but Emma could see it in the way they moved, the tightness in their jaws, the way they watched the emergency radio for updates that never came anymore. She left the main room and walked down the concrete corridor. Her friend Jake was in the storage area, staring at boxes of canned food. Jake was 15 and tall, with dark hair and serious eyes. He had always been smart, the kind of kid who liked to figure out how things worked. "Did you feel that?" Jake asked. "Yeah," Emma said. "Another big one. It's getting worse. I heard my dad talking to the other engineers. The quakes from the bombing runs are putting stress on the facility. The ceiling in the eastern tunnel already has cracks in it." Emma felt her stomach drop. The shelter was supposed to keep them alive, but if it fell apart around them, they would be just as dead as everyone on the surface. "We need to find Ryan and Lily," Emma said. "Something is wrong. We need to go topside." Jake's eyes widened. "Are you crazy?" "My parents said nobody goes up there. The airlocks are sealed." "I know the code," Emma said. "Dad told me when he brought me here. Just in case. He said I needed to know how to get out if something happened to him. That was 3 days ago." Her dad was in the main planning room with the other administrators, trying to figure out how long they could survive down here. She had not seen him since yesterday. They found Ryan and Lily in the small school area where the facility's children spent their time. Ryan was 12 and small for his age, but he was already better with computers than most adults. Lily was 13 and quiet, the kind of person who noticed things other people missed. Emma explained what she wanted to do. Ryan agreed immediately. Lily hesitated but then nodded. "If something is wrong with the structure, we need to know," she said. The airlock was a heavy steel door with a complex locking mechanism. Emma remembered the code. 6 numbers that her father had made her repeat 3 times. She entered it, and the door hissed open. They climbed the stairs in the dark. Emergency lighting gave them a pale red glow. The sound of the world outside grew louder as they went up. Rumbling. Explosions in the distance. A sound like nothing Emma had ever heard before. A high-pitched whine that made her teeth ache. The final door opened into a shelter entrance built into the mountainside. The heavy outer hatch was closed, but there were windows. Emma looked out and felt her breath catch. The sky was not the right color. It was gray and wrong. Through the windows, she could see something massive in the distance. It was not a plane. It was not anything from Earth. It hung in the sky like a dark cloud that had a shape. Straight angles. Metal hull. Nothing like human engineering. "Holy," Ryan said. "Come on," Emma said. "We need to check the outside." They were not supposed to open the outer hatch, but Emma did it anyway. The seal broke with a hiss of stale air. They emerged onto the rocky ground outside the facility. The wind was cold and carried a smell like burned plastic. That was when Jake spotted the pod. It was maybe 50 meters away, half buried in the dirt and rocks. It was not large, maybe 3 meters long, and it was smoking. The metal was hot to touch. Whatever it was, it had crashed recently. Very recently. "We need to look inside," Ryan said. They approached carefully. The entrance to the pod was on the side, a gap where something had broken open on impact. Emma looked inside and saw movement. There was something in there. Not human. Its shape was wrong. It had too many joints in its limbs, and its skin seemed to move with colors that did not stay still. Its head turned toward them, and Emma saw eyes. Many eyes. Too many eyes. She should have been afraid. Should have run. But something in those eyes was not hostile. There was pain, confusion, something that felt almost like desperation. The creature made a sound. Not words, just a sound. But in her mind, Emma felt something. An image, a feeling. Overwhelming sadness, anger, fear. "It is alive," Lily said quietly. The creature reached out one of its strange limbs. There was something in its grip. A device, small enough to hold in a human hand. Black and smooth, with patterns of light running across its surface that looked like they meant something, like they were trying to say something. Emma should have been careful. Should have called the adults. But she was 14 and scared and angry that the world was ending. She stepped forward and took the device. The moment her fingers touched it, the lights flared bright and her mind filled with information. Not words, images, concepts, a feeling of vast intelligence trying to push itself into a human brain that was too small to hold it all. Then, the creature made one final sound. A long, low vibration that seemed to come from deep inside it. The eyes closed. The movement stopped. It was dead. Emma held the device in her shaking hands. The patterns on its surface continued to glow. Whatever this thing was, whatever it did, she was sure of one thing. It had been trying to give them something. Something that might help them survive what was coming. "We cannot tell anyone," she said. Jake looked at her like she was insane. "Are you serious? This could save all of us." "No," Emma said. Her voice was steady. "They will try to use it in a way that kills more people. They will panic. They will do something stupid. We need to understand what this is first." Lily and Ryan exchanged a look. Then they nodded. The four of them went back inside the facility, carrying the device that would change everything about how humans could fight back. They hid the device in the storage room behind the water purification system. In the days that followed, Emma, Jake, Ryan, and Lily snuck away during the times when the facility was most busy. When the adults were in meetings. When people were eating. When the alarms were blaring about another quake or another distant explosion. Ryan was the first to figure out how to activate it. His fingers moved over the surface, and suddenly the device projected images into the air. Not light exactly. More like thoughts made visible. Pictures and diagrams and symbols that tried to explain themselves. "It is trying to teach us something," Lily said. "But teaching what?" The images were alien. The concepts did not fit neatly into human ideas. There were mathematical patterns that seemed to describe forces and energies that should not be possible. There were pictures of structures and machines that looked like they could do things that violated every law of physics. Then Emma touched the device while Ryan was holding it. Pain shot through her head. Not bad pain. Different. Like her brain was expanding. Like new connections were being made in her mind. She felt Ryan's thoughts for a moment. His confusion. His wonder. Then the sensation faded. "That was," Jake said, "the strangest thing I have ever felt." Over the next 3 days, they learned to use the device together. It worked best when multiple people held it at the same time. When they connected like that, their minds seemed to link together. Not reading thoughts exactly, but being able to think faster, to see problems from angles they could not see alone Emma realized what the alien had been trying to do. It had been trying to give humanity a tool to think harder, faster, and smarter. A way to make the human brain more powerful. The facility began to fail on the fourth day. The tremors from the bombing runs had done more damage than the adults wanted to admit. The power system was degrading. One of the main circuits had blown, and they had no replacement. The adults argued in the main room, their voices rising in panic. Emma's father was there. He looked exhausted. His face was gray with stress. They had been down in the shelter for 8 days now, and he looked like he had aged 10 years. "We have power for maybe 5 more days," one of the engineers said. "After that, life support systems start failing. The air processing units will not work. The water filtration will stop. We can ration," someone else said. "Turn off the lights in some areas. That will buy us 2 more days. Maybe 3. But the issue is the circuit. We need a replacement part that we do not have." The facility was built to be sealed during a nuclear war. It was never meant to be occupied for longer than a few weeks. Emma's father put his head in his hands. She left the room and found Jake, Ryan, and Lily. She took them to the device. "The power system," she said. "I think the device can help us figure out a way to fix it." They made their way to the electrical room. It was a large chamber filled with machines and wiring and control panels. The main circuit was clearly damaged, burned, broken. There was no way to repair it normally. But when they held the device and connected their minds, something amazing happened. The device seemed to understand electrical systems. It showed them a solution, an unconventional rerouting of power that should be impossible. A way to bypass the broken circuit using lines that had been designed for a different purpose. The rerouting would be dangerous. It would require perfect timing. The power surge needed to be controlled exactly right, or it would cause the entire system to fail. But it could work. Ryan knew more about computers than any adult in the facility. With the device amplifying his thinking, he designed the rerouting sequence in his head. Jake helped him think through every angle, every potential failure point. Emma and Lily made sure the plan would work. Checking and rechecking the logic. Took them 2 hours. Then they told Emma's father. They had an idea. He looked at them like they were insane. 4 children with a crazy suggestion. But he was desperate. The power would be gone in less than 2 days. What did he have to lose? Ryan implemented the rerouting himself. Emma's father stood beside him, checking every step. The adults held their breath. When Ryan activated the sequence, the power came back online. Not fully, but enough. Enough for life support. Enough for survival. The adults looked at each other in shock. "How did you figure that out?" Emma's father asked. Emma did not answer. She could not tell him about the device. "Not yet. We just thought about it differently," she said. That night, the 4 of them sat in their hiding place, and the device showed them something new. It showed them visions, glimpses of other places, other people, other children who were hiding, other shelters, other human survivors. And it showed them something else. An image of Earth surrounded by darkness. An image of ships. Many ships. Too many ships. The device was showing them that what was happening was far bigger than they had imagined. The invasion was not just about destroying cities. It was about conquest, about ending humanity itself. But the visions also showed them something else, something hopeful. They showed other children like them, children who had found other pieces of alien technology, children who were beginning to think like the device was teaching them to think. They could not be the only ones. "We have to figure out how to help people," Emma said. "We have to teach others how to use what this thing can teach us. If we do that," Lily said, "we change everything." We make ourselves different from the other kids. We make ourselves responsible for what comes next. Emma thought about her father's exhausted face. She thought about the 200 people in the facility who were terrified and dying slowly in the dark. She thought about all the other people out in the world, facing the same situation. We were already different the moment we found this thing, she said. Now we just have to decide what we are going to do about it. The device pulsed with light. In that moment, Emma knew something was stirring. Something was starting. Something that would grow and spread and change the course of the war between humanity and the aliens. 4 teenagers were about to become humanity's greatest weapon. The device showed them the location of another shelter every day. Each vision was clear. A facility 3 days' travel to the south, hidden in a canyon, housing more than 400 people, children, families, supplies that would last maybe 2 weeks. Then the device showed them something worse. Images of alien forces moving toward that location, converging, searching, getting closer with each passing day. Emma brought the information to her father in the form of a question that sounded innocent. A question that made him realize something that the adults had been avoiding. How many other shelters do you think survived the attacks? She asked. Her father looked at her for a long time. Then he sighed. At least 10, maybe more. We have been trying to maintain radio contact, but communications have been failing. What happens to the people in those shelters if they do not get help? Her father did not answer. He did not have to. Emma called a meeting in the shelter. She asked her father to gather the adults who made the big decisions. When they were all assembled, she told them what she knew about the other facility. The adults did not ask how she knew. Maybe they were too desperate for good news. Maybe they wanted to believe that help was possible. One of the administrators stood up immediately. That is impossible. We have no way to know there is another shelter to the south. We have no communications. We cannot send people out there. We have no vehicles. We have no security forces. We have people dying here. We have barely enough supplies for ourselves. Other voices joined in. Fear, anger, the desire to survive at any cost. The desire to not risk their own families for strangers. Emma's father listened to all of it. Then he said something that changed everything. But if we are the only ones who survive, and everyone else is gone, what kind of humanity are we preserving? The room went quiet. Jake stepped forward. He had prepared for this. He had used the device to think through every angle. We can do it, he said. We can send a team, small, mobile, using routes that avoid the main roads, using strategies that keep them hidden. The adults wanted details. Jake and Emma and Ryan gave them models, plans that seemed to come from nowhere, strategies that no teenagers should have been able to develop. The adults questioned how they knew so much, but Emma's father answered for them. Because they have been paying attention, he said. Because they are smarter than we are about problems we did not want to face. The vote was close, but it passed. A rescue team would be sent. Emma knew she had to go. She could not ask others to do something she was not willing to do herself. Jake argued with her for an hour, but he knew she was right. So he came with her. Ryan wanted to go too, but Emma said no. They needed him at the facility. They needed his mind to keep the power systems running, to keep everyone alive while they were gone. Ryan accepted it, but it hurt him. Lily would stay with Ryan. They would serve as anchors, keeping the connection with the device alive, helping the team in the field through the visions and guidance the device could provide. The rescue team was small. Emma and Jake, 4 adults who had been soldiers before the invasion. 2 people who knew the terrain. That was it. 8 people walking out into a world that was ending. The first day was the worst. They could see the alien ships in the distance. Massive things that hung in the sky like storm clouds made of metal. The team moved carefully, staying off the roads, staying in the trees and mountains where the sensors might not see them. That night, Lily and Ryan made contact through the device. Emma held it and felt her friend's presence in her mind. They told her the route ahead was clear. The alien patrols had moved to the west. There was a window. The second day, they saw their first alien soldiers. The creatures were tall and angular, moving with a confidence that suggested they expected no resistance. The team froze in the brush while the aliens passed within 100 meters. Emma's heart was beating so hard she thought it would give her away. But the device did something. It seemed to reach out into the minds of the aliens, not controlling them, but confusing them, making them uncertain. The aliens paused and looked around, then moved on in a different direction. Emma realized the device was more than just a thinking tool. It was a weapon that could touch minds directly. The third day, they reached the shelter. The canyon was well hidden and the entrance was disguised. But they found it because Lily's visions had been that clear. Inside, the people were dying. Not quickly, but slowly. The air systems were failing just like in Emma's facility. The food was running out. The children were weak and afraid. The soldiers had to make a choice. They could not carry everyone back. They could not evacuate everyone in the time they had. Emma made the decision. The youngest first. All the children. Anything needed to give the children a chance. The team worked through the night, preparing people to move. The alarms started at dawn. The aliens had found them. The team split up. The soldiers and Jake would lead the first group of evacuees back to safety. Emma would stay and help get the rest moving. "Go," Jake said to her. "Get as many people out as you can." Emma wanted to argue, but she saw the determination in his eyes. Jake was thinking like the device had taught him to think. Seeing angles. Making hard choices. The escape route was chaos. The aliens were attacking, but not with overwhelming force. Not yet. It was like they were hurting the humans, pushing them towards something. Emma realized what was happening. They were being driven towards something worse. She grabbed one of the communication devices the adults had brought. She sent a message back to the facility. To Lily and Ryan. Show them a way out that they are not expecting. The response came back immediately. Ryan had reprogrammed the portable devices. When the aliens tried to track the humans through their heat signatures and movement patterns, they saw confusion. Multiple paths. Dozens of groups moving in different directions. It should not have been possible. But Ryan had figured out how to make the devices broadcast false information. It worked. The aliens split their forces. The main group of evacuees made it to safety in the canyon. Hidden, alive, Emma stayed behind with the device. Her fingers trembled as she held it. She could feel Lily and Ryan in her mind, terrified and determined. Save them, she told her friends. Just save them. Then she ran into the darkness, toward the fires and the sounds of battle, knowing that the world was never going to be the same. Emma made it back 3 days later with the last of the evacuees from the southern shelter. She was exhausted and burned, her clothes torn and dirty, but she was alive. More importantly, she had news. The southern shelter had its own piece of alien technology. A girl named Marcus, who was 16, had found it. A piece of alien equipment that looked different from Emma's device, but worked on the same principles. Marcus had been using it to help people in her shelter, just like Emma had been doing. The moment the two devices came close to each other, something unexpected happened. They began to resonate. They amplified each other. When Emma and Marcus held them together, they could feel more than just their own thoughts. They could feel Ryan and Lily in the facility, even though they were more than 3 days away. "They are linked," Marcus said. The older girl's eyes were wide with wonder and fear. "The devices are creating a network. They are connecting minds across distances." The realization hit Emma like a physical force. The alien had not given them one tool. It had given them the foundation for something much bigger. A way for humans to think together across the vast distances that had always kept them isolated and separated. They tested the network carefully. Marcus and Emma found 2 other devices in the group of evacuees. 2 more teenagers, Carlos and Diana, had pieces of alien equipment they had been keeping secret. Different shapes, different functions. But when they were brought together, they all connected through the same invisible link. 4 devices. 4 teenagers. A network that let them see through each other's eyes and think with each other's minds across unlimited distance. The implications terrified Emma, but they also filled her with hope. She brought the devices to her father. She showed him what they could do, explained how children across different shelters could coordinate survival efforts in ways that were impossible before. "You are talking about creating a connection between all the survivors," her father said slowly. "A way for them to work together as one organism." "Yes," Emma said, "but we have to be careful. If the aliens discover what we are doing, they will hunt us. They will hunt every child who has one of these devices." Her father was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "Then we hide it. We let the devices work. But we do not advertise it. We let the children coordinate from the shadows. We let them be the force that keeps humanity alive." The network grew slowly over the next weeks. More devices were discovered. More children joined the connection. The devices seemed to know where other pieces of alien technology were hidden. They guided children toward each other through visions and impulses. Soon there were 20 children, then 50, then over 100, spread across 7 different shelters and hidden locations across North America. The aliens began to notice patterns that should not exist. Human resistance that was too coordinated. Evacuations that happened seconds before alien attacks. Supply movements that avoided patrols with impossible timing. Information moving between shelters, despite all communications being offline. At first, the alien command thought they were facing organized human military forces. They increased their attacks, sent more soldiers, deployed more of their heavy weapons. But slowly, they realized something else. The resistance was not coming from armies. It was coming from children, from groups that had no weapons, no vehicles, no military training. The alien command issued a directive. Find the source of the coordination. Find the children who were making this possible. Bring them alive for study. The human resistance could be broken if the link between the survivors could be severed. Emma received the visions through the network. She could see the alien ships moving to specific locations. She could see the search patterns. She could feel the hunter-like intelligence of the alien command structure, trying to think like humans, trying to find patterns and predict movements. They were getting closer. The network held a kind of conference. Not physically. They were spread across 7 locations, but they were together in the connection created by the devices. 50 children, thinking as one, had to make a choice. They could try to hide, could try to protect the devices and hope the aliens never found them. That was the safe option. That was the option that might keep them alive. Or they could take the fight to the aliens directly. Jake's voice came through the network first. He was at a different shelter now, helping coordinate their survival. His thoughts came clear and strong. "We are already in the fight," he said. "Every time we help people survive, we are fighting. Every time we coordinate a rescue, we are fighting. The only question is whether we do it hiding or whether we do it knowing we are at war. One by one, the children in the network agreed. They would not run anymore. They would not hide anymore. Ryan made a discovery. He had been analyzing the patterns of alien movements, trying to understand the logic of their strategy. What he found was shocking. The alien forces were not coordinated from multiple ships. They had a central command nexus, one location where the decisions were made, one ship where the leadership was located. If that nexus could be destroyed or disrupted, the alien forces would lose their ability to act as a unified force. They would fall apart into groups that were less coordinated, less effective. It was the kind of discovery that military strategists would call the turning point. It was the kind of information that changed wars. But reaching the nexus seemed impossible. It was protected by layers of defenses. It was mobile, moving across the continent to avoid human attack. It was surrounded by weapons and soldiers. The network grew silent as the children processed what they were being told. Then Emma spoke. "We do not have to reach it physically," she said. "We have minds connected across hundreds of kilometers. We have technology that touches minds. We have something that the aliens did not expect." She sent her plan through the network. The other children received it and added to it. They thought together, amplifying each other's intelligence, building a strategy that no single human could have created. A plan to destroy the alien command nexus. A plan that would require sacrifice. A plan that would ask for courage from children who should never have had to be brave. But it was a plan that could work. The network made its decision. They would execute the plan. They would face the alien command. They would do it knowing that some of them might not survive. Emma felt the fear in the network. She felt the doubt. But she felt something stronger. She felt the determination of 100 children who had decided that humanity was worth fighting for. The plan was simple in concept, but brutal in execution. The children would create false signals through their network, signals that mimicked the patterns of a major human military installation. The signals would be designed to draw the alien command nexus to a location where humans had prepared a trap. A location chosen by the network, analyzed from every angle, prepared to the last detail. The aliens would come because they believed they were eliminating the source of human coordination. They would come with force. They would come expecting victory. They would be wrong. The location chosen was an old military base in Montana. It had been abandoned for decades, but it still had structures. It still had systems that could be repurposed. Most importantly, it had underground tunnels that the network had analyzed and understood completely. The execution date was set for dawn on the 28th day after the network was formed. In the week before the operation, the children made their preparations. Teams of adults and older teenagers were trained in what they had to do. They were not told the full scope of the plan. That was too dangerous. If even one person was captured and interrogated, the aliens would learn everything. But they were told enough. They were told to fight. They were told that if they succeeded, they might give humanity a chance. Emma was at the facility in Colorado when the countdown reached 0. She held the device in her hands and felt the presence of 100 minds connected through the network. She could feel their fear. She could feel their determination. She could feel them preparing to die. The false signal was broadcast from multiple locations simultaneously. Ryan had designed it to look like a military command center preparing for a large-scale offensive. The signal was obvious enough to attract attention, but hidden well enough to seem real to alien sensors. The alien command nexus, the great ship that hung over the central United States like a dark dot, turned toward the signal. It took 12 hours to travel to the Montana base. During those hours, the humans worked. Teams moved into position in the tunnels. Equipment was prepared. Weapons that humans had salvaged were positioned at strategic points. It was not much. Guns and explosives and tools repurposed into implements of war. But it was what they had. The younger children stayed in the shelters, using the devices to monitor the operation and relay information to the teams in the field. They were the minds of the network, seeing through the eyes of their friends and comrades, helping them avoid dangers and make decisions in real time. Jake was at the Montana base, leading one of the strike teams. Emma could feel his presence in the network, his determination, his fear, his absolute commitment to the mission. When the alien ship appeared on the horizon, the network fell silent. It was larger than Emma had imagined, more powerful, more terrifying. It descended slowly, confident in its superiority, expecting the location to be defended by primitive human weapons and soldiers. The aliens did not understand what they were facing. The first phase was supposed to be simple. The aliens would land. They would send soldiers to investigate. Those soldiers would enter the tunnels. But something went wrong. The aliens did not land. Instead, they hovered above the base and began bombarding the tunnels with energy weapons. Explosions ripped through the underground structures. Teams that were supposed to be in position were trapped in the tunnels. The ground itself was coming apart. Emma felt the panic in the network. She felt teams dying. She felt their minds vanishing from the connection. She made a decision. "Change the signal," she said through the network. "Show them we are here. Show them we are fighting." The portable devices, the ones that could transmit false sensor data, were activated at full power. Suddenly, the alien ship was under attack from every direction at once. Not real attacks, but attacks that looked real on alien sensors. The ship's weapons turned to defend itself. Its focus shifted away from the tunnels. It was what Emma had hoped for, but it exposed the devices and the children who were operating them. The alien ship descended further. It began searching for the source of the false signals. Jake saw what was happening. He understood what Emma had done. He understood that she had just put targets on the backs of every child in the network. He made his own decision. He led the strike team out of the tunnels. They emerged with weapons they had no real chance of using effectively against alien technology. But they moved with purpose. They moved with determination. They moved like humans who had decided that their lives meant something. The aliens opened fire. The strike team took cover behind the ruins of the military base and returned fire. It was suicide. Everyone in the network knew it. But they also understood something that the aliens did not. Humans will fight. Humans will stand. Humans will face death rather than accept slavery. In the tunnels beneath the base, Ryan had accessed the main power systems. He had found what the network had known was there. The old base had been built with a nuclear power plant. It had been sealed and abandoned, but the core was still intact. Dormant but intact. Ryan, with guidance from the network, with the minds of 50 children thinking with his mind, began to activate it. The process was slow. It should have taken hours. But with the device amplifying his thinking, Ryan worked faster than any human should have been able to work. Connections were rerouted. Systems were brought online. The reactor began to warm. Jake and his team held the aliens' attention for 15 minutes. 15 minutes of combat against an enemy with superior weapons and superior technology. It should have been over in seconds. But human soldiers fought with discipline. They fell back carefully. They covered each other. They made the aliens pay for every meter of ground. Emma felt each death in the network. She felt her friends dying. She felt the presence of human minds vanishing from the connection. Then Ryan's voice came through the network, clear and certain. "It is ready," he said. "The reactor is going critical. When I seal the chambers, the entire installation will become a thermonuclear explosion. The power will be enough to overload the alien ship's shielding. It will be enough to destroy the command nexus. Emma understood what that meant. It meant the reactor would detonate. It meant everyone in the tunnels would die. It meant Ryan would die. "Do it," she said. The tunnel system sealed. The reactor went critical. The explosion was visible from space. A column of nuclear fire rose from the Montana desert. The alien command ship, hovering above the base, was caught directly in the blast radius. Its shields overloaded. Its hull was breached. Its systems failed. The ship fell from the sky like a stone. When it hit the ground, it was dead. A massive piece of alien technology that would never fly again. The command nexus destroyed. The link between the alien forces severed. But Ryan was dead. And Jake was dead. And 12 other people in the strike team were dead. And the other children connected through the network had felt all of it. Had watched their friends die through the connection. Emma held the device and wept. She wept because her friends were gone. She wept because they had won. She wept because victory tasted like loss. But in the shelters across North America, other humans began to move. The alien forces, without their command nexus, without coordination, began to fail. Some forces fought on, but without leadership, without direction. They were slowly overwhelmed by human resistance that suddenly seemed to be everywhere at once. The invasion was not over. There were still aliens in Earth's skies. But for the first time since they had arrived, humans were winning. The remaining 90 children in the network made contact with each other. They felt the presence of the empty spaces where their friends had been. They felt the weight of survival, of being responsible for humanity's future. Emma, still holding the device in Colorado, made a broadcast through the network. A message to every survivor. A message to every human who was still fighting. "They died to save us," she said. "Ryan and Jake and all the others. They died so that we would have a chance. So that humanity would have a future. That means our job now is to make sure that future means something. Make sure their sacrifice matters." The response came back from all across the network. From soldiers and survivors and children who had learned that they were stronger than they had ever believed. The response was simple but powerful. "We will survive. We will rebuild. We will honor them." Emma was 15 years old. In a matter of weeks, she had gone from being a normal teenager hiding in an underground shelter to being a leader of a network that connected the survivors of human civilization. She had made decisions that cost lives. She had asked her friends to die. But she had also given humanity a chance. In the days that followed, the children of the network would continue their work. They would help coordinate the rebuilding of human society. They would use the alien technology not as a weapon but as a bridge, a way for humans to think together and work together in ways that had never been possible before. The world was still damaged. Millions were still dead. Cities still burned. But humanity was alive. And as long as humans were alive, as long as even one person was willing to fight and sacrifice for the future, then there was hope. The devices that the alien had given them were not weapons. They were a gift that let humans become more than they had ever been. More intelligent, more connected, more determined.